Alf didn't just break the rules, he vaporized them with a burp and a bad attitude. Trapdoors opened, scripts got shredded, one actor nearly punched a puppet, scenes dragged, tempers boiled, nobody knew who was in charge except Alf. These are 20 wild facts about Alf, and the bonus? It's weirder than a cat in a microwave. So, grab a TV dinner, adjust your bunny ears, and hang on. This isn't just a trip down memory lane, it's a crash landing on Planet 80s. Fact number 1. The set was a puppet-filled death maze. On the first day of filming, everything collapsed, like a game of Jenga built by gremlins. The Tanner household? It looked cozy on TV, sure, but in real life, it was basically Swiss cheese. The floor was full of trapdoors so the puppeteers could move Alf around underneath, which meant the actors had to tiptoe around like they were playing sitcom Minesweeper. Miss your mark by an inch? Boom, straight into the abyss. Max Wright disappeared into a hole mid-scene once and came back angrier than a dad stuck at Chuck E. Cheese, and poor Andrea Elson kept tripping over the floor so much they almost wrote it into her character. Filming an episode took 20 to 25 hours. That's not television. That's puppet-powered psychological warfare with a laugh track. Fact number 2. Max Wright lost a fight to a puppet. Max Wright, bless his soul, was a serious stage actor, Shakespeare, Eugene O'Neill, the real stuff, and then came Alf, a fuzzy alien with sass, gas, and zero personal space. Max tried to stay professional, but by season 4, you could see the pain behind his glasses. According to crew members, the moment they wrapped the final scene, he didn't clap or cry. He allegedly lunged at the Alf puppet, ripped it off the set, and punched it. Yes, punched it. No one stopped him. Honestly, no one blamed him. After 4 years of crawling through trapdoors, dodging cables, and getting upstaged by felt, the man just snapped. That final blow, let's call it closure, the most dramatic thing Willie Tanner ever did. Fact number 3. Alf needed a whole crew just to blink. Remember watching Alf and feeling like he was real? That's because behind every blink, twitch, and sass-filled smirk, 4 people were working in perfect sync. Paul Fusco voiced him, but 3 others crouched beneath trapdoors, puppeteering his arms, eyelids, and lips. During one scene, right after a line about eating the cat, his eyes rolled in opposite directions. The director paused, sighed, then said, "He's an alien, let it roll." In a decade of Fraggle, Rock, and Labyrinth, Alf stood out, not just for attitude, but for insane behind-the-scenes wizardry. Fact number 4. Scenes took 20-plus hours to shoot. A 22-minute Alf episode could take 2 full days to shoot, sometimes longer. Every joke had to be timed between puppeteers, trapdoors, and complicated set resets. Miss a cue? Reset the lights, move the couch, and start again from scratch. Andrea Elson, who played Lynn, once called it the slowest comedy ever made. It made Family Ties look like a sprint. Still, those painstaking hours brought us scenes like Alf's Elvis impersonation or his therapy session with Willie, moments that felt effortless but took days of magic to get just right. Fact number 5. Paul Fusco refused to break character. On set, Paul Fusco was Alf, on camera, off camera, even during lunch. Cast members recall him cracking jokes, throwing shade, and even fake farting in character during emotional rehearsals. Max Wright once tried to have a heartfelt moment backstage, only to be cut off with, "Not now, Willie," from beneath the floor. It was like working with a tiny alien Daniel Day-Lewis. In a time when Jim Henson reigned supreme, Fusco gave Alf something no other puppet had: unfiltered, unrelenting commitment to chaos. Fact number 6. Alf cost more than most human stars. The puppet that made America laugh? He was worth more than most Miami Vice cameos. Alf's main animatronic cost a staggering $40,000, and there were 3 versions. One for close-ups, one for walking shots, and one packed with so many gears it hummed like a VCR rewinding Ferris Bueller's Day Off. NBC even took out insurance on him, treating him like a high-value star. He had a writer, a puppet, with demands. Somewhere out there, a network exec still dreams of those maintenance bills. Fact number 7. Alf almost set himself on fire. Season 2 brought a new Alf, slicker, snarkier, and with upgraded facial motors. But those upgrades came at a price. During a kitchen scene, right before he steals a pie, sparks burst from his face mid-sentence. At first, the crew thought it was part of the gag. Then came the smell of melting foam. They cut the scene and scrambled. Alf's head was literally overheating. The solution? Tiny fans installed in his skull, making him the only 1980s sitcom lead with a built-in cooling system. Who else but Alf? Fact number 8. Alf was too ugly for merch. When toy execs first saw the real Alf puppet, the wiry hair, the bulbous snout, those unpredictable eyes, they panicked. "It's too weird," one said. "It'll scare kids." Merch deals stalled, but after the show's ratings soared, remember the Somewhere Over the Rerun dream sequence with Gilligan? The cash registers started ringing. The solution? A plush Alf with cartoonish eyes, trimmed snout, and zero attitude. It wasn't the real Alf, but it sold like crazy. Ironically,
Fact number 9. He released a real music album. Long before YouTube parodies or TikTok sounds, Alf dropped an actual album, Mel Mack Rock, 1988, full of burps, bragging, and surprisingly heartfelt tracks like Proud to Be Me. It felt like Weird Al met Saturday morning cartoons. Kids played it non-stop, right after rewinding the Chipmunk Adventure VHS. Parents? Bewildered. One reviewer wrote, "It's like Tom Waits got possessed by a raccoon." And that sax solo? Pure intergalactic chaos. It was the kind of record only the 80s could love, and only Alf could sell. Fact number 10. He guest-hosted Hollywood Squares. Yep, Alf took over Hollywood Squares in 1987. Perched in the center square, right above Jim J. Bullock, of course, he riffed with celebs like Whoopi Goldberg and even insulted the host. Behind the scenes, his seat was a technical nightmare, rigged with fans and wires so he wouldn't overheat. But on camera, he was gold. Audiences were used to sitcoms, but not to a snarky alien running primetime game shows. It was absurd. It was brilliant. It was everything 1987 stood for. Still think Alf was just that puppet with attitude? You clearly forgot what happened in the final episode. Fact number 11. The final episode traumatized a generation. May 1990, Alf gets captured by the U.S. military while waiting to be rescued by his Mel Mack friends. He turns to Willie, and the screen fades to black. No punchline, no goodbye, just government vans and silence. Millions of kids who grew up on jokes about cat sandwiches and Willie were left gutted. NBC canceled the show with no warning. It was like watching The Empire Strikes Back and never getting Return of the Jedi. Even now, fans call it one of TV's cruelest cliffhangers. Fact number 12. Germany censored Alf for being too sarcastic. When Alf aired in Germany, censors didn't love his snarky tone. They redubbed his voice to make him sound more like your goofy uncle and less like the roast master of Mel Mack. Sarcastic gems like "nice parenting, Willie" were toned down or cut entirely. German fans who watched reruns later in English were shocked. It was like discovering your favorite sitcom was actually a stand-up set in disguise. Imagine censoring MASH to make Hawkeye sound sweet. That's what they did to Alf. And just when you thought Alf couldn't get any bigger. Fact number 13. Alf had 2 cartoons and a late-night talk show. Alf wasn't just a sitcom, he built a franchise. First came Alf, the animated series, a peek into his life on Mel Mack with purple skies, weird food, and a girlfriend named Rhonda. Then Alf Tales, where he spoofed fairy tales like Sleeping Beauty, but with burps. And in 2004, he somehow landed Alf's hit talk show, where he interviewed real celebs like Drew Carey and Tom Green. Picture The Tonight Show if the host was 2 feet tall, animatronic, and roasted you mid-question. It flopped, but like everything Alf did, it was unforgettable. Still think Alf peaked in '88? The dude survived nuclear meltdowns, cancellation, and Sweden. Fact number 14. Sweden flagged Alf as a bad influence. In the US, Alf was on lunchboxes and cereal boxes. But in Sweden, he was practically contraband. The government flagged the show as inappropriate for kids under 12. Too rude, too sarcastic, and yes, too obsessed with eating cats.
Officials said it promoted disobedience. Meanwhile, American kids were quoting him in the schoolyard like gospel. Casual. No problem, Willie. Same show, two worlds. It was the only sitcom of the 80s that could spark a food fight in one country and a censorship debate in another. Even Bart Simpson didn't get banned for snark. And if you think that's the wildest thing about Alf's legacy, wait until you hear who wasn't allowed to sell his own toys. Fact number 15. Alf was too controversial for commercials. He had dolls, plushies, lunchboxes, even pajamas, but Alf himself wasn't allowed to promote them. The FCC ruled that he was too influential on kids, and letting him sell his own merch during commercial breaks would be manipulative. So toy companies got sneaky. They aired ads about Alf toys, without Alf speaking. Not one sarcastic line, just silence. Imagine He-Man getting gagged, or Garfield being told to shush while someone else sells lasagna. For a character who never shut up, it was the cruelest kind of censorship. Fact number 16. The cast couldn't stand each other. Behind the laugh track, the Alf set was brutal. Long hours, hot lights, trapdoors everywhere. Max Wright, who played Willie, would storm off the second filming ended. No goodbyes. Ann Sedin called the show joyless. Even Andrea Elson said she dreaded some shoots. Between puppet malfunctions and delays, it wasn't a family. It was a hostage crisis in sitcom form. And the only one cracking jokes between takes was a foam alien with his own cooling system. Alf may have played the clown, but backstage, the mood was anything but funny.
If you thought working with a puppet was hard, wait till you hear this one. Fact number 17. Alf's puppet once malfunctioned on live TV. During a live promotional segment on a local news station, Alf froze mid-sentence. His eyes locked, his mouth stopped moving. The host tried to cover it. Looks like Alf's tired today. But behind the desk, 3 panicked puppeteers were trying to fix a fried servo. Meanwhile, Paul Fusco stayed in character. My brain chip melted. I need a nap. The segment aired unedited. Thousands of kids saw their favorite aliens suffer what looked like a full-on stroke on breakfast television. Fact number 18. They once filmed a scene in total darkness. In a late-season episode, a power outage gag meant filming an entire scene by candlelight. Sounds fun, until the cameras overheated, Alf's head fan failed, and nobody could see the puppeteers under the floor. At one point, Alf drifted off his mark and fell sideways right into a fake lamp. The crew burst out. Paul Fusco, still in character, guess gravity works on Mel Mack too. They kept the take, because at that point, nobody had the energy to do it again. Fact number 19. Alf almost got a sci-fi spinoff. In space. After the cancellation, Paul Fusco pitched a follow-up series called Alf: The Final Frontier. The premise: Alf escapes Area 51 and travels the galaxy, running from the US government and offering snarky advice to alien civilizations. Think Star Trek, but with hairballs. The network said no, twice. But a full concept Bible and scripts were written, and they're now in a private vault. Somewhere out there is a universe where Alf became the space therapist no one asked for, but everyone secretly needed. Fact number 20. Alf was supposed to go home. Throughout the show, Alf dreams of returning to Mel Mack. He tells stories of his old life, his cat-eating customs, and his long-lost friends. But we never saw it, until a canceled spin-off titled Alf: The Final Frontier was revealed. It would have followed Alf escaping Area 51 and searching for survivors from Mel Mack. A full redemption arc, a return to his roots. The show was pitched, written, and rejected. Instead of going home, Alf stayed grounded, forever the lost alien, stuck in suburbia, one step away from peace. Bonus fact, Alf's saddest line was also his most honest. In one episode, Alf says softly,
"You don't know what it's like to be alone in the universe."
The laugh track doesn't play. The room goes quiet. For a moment, the puppet drops the punchline and speaks from real loneliness. He wasn't just comic relief. He was an outsider, craving connection, hiding pain behind wisecracks. In the end, maybe Alf wasn't about an alien at all. Maybe it was about what it feels like to not belong and still try to make people laugh.
So if you grew up thinking Alf was just a wisecracking puppet with a bad haircut, think again. Behind the laughs was a whole crew sweating under floorboards, a cast pushed to their limits, and a lonely alien who somehow made us all feel a little less alone. And sure, he never got back to Mel Mack, but maybe he didn't need to, because for 4 unforgettable seasons, he was home. If this video brought back memories, hit like, subscribe, and drop your favorite Alf quote in the comments. Because in a world full of sitcoms, only one alien ever said,
"Let's have a cat for dinner."
and somehow made it sound like love.